I'm calling it, as we switch gears here, Super Sports Saturday in Vancouver. Has there ever been a day like that in Vancouver? I mean, in terms of quantity anyway, and quality, really.
It was.
So the Seas, they end up beating Everett. We got some video here? Yeah, there's a final pitch. They end up beating Everett on Saturday night, 10-2.
Yep.
I had to be made aware of this, but that was their 5th title since 2011.
Yeah.
Their first one at the high A level. Watch out there, guys. At the high A level. So they win 10-2. They win that series 3-1.
Donnie, 6,413 in Nat Bailey.
Sold out.
Sold out. And last year they were in the final and they got swept, but this year they come back. And did you hear the manager say, what an atmosphere? Only Toronto has this type of atmosphere. So good on the Vancouver Canadians. We always know one thing about the Vancouver Canadians. Year in, year out, they put in a good product. They got no ownership issues. They got nothing. They
recently changed ownership.
Always. You can always expect great stuff from the Vancouver Canadians year in, year out.
Meanwhile, the Whitecaps, we'll get to the Lions in a second, but they come back on Saturday, and they win in Toronto by a score of 2-1. TFC had open scoring to make it 1-0. Then the Whitecaps, a couple of goals, and they end up winning again. They're on a roll. They're just 2 points out of second place in the MLS West.
That goal was so nice. That goal right now, I watched that over a few times. They've got 10 out of 12 points on this road trip. And you know what? They struggled on the road early this year. I mean, they could not buy, Donnie, a road victory. And most of their victories came at home. And they're putting everything together. You got to give the coach, Vanny, credit. I know he's without a contract. You know, it's probably going to trend towards a contract, Donnie. And you got to give him credit. To coach in a year like this without a contract, that's pretty tough to do in this market. And, you know, good on Vanny. He's coming through big time.
And Ryan Gauld and Brian White are leading the way. I know they made a lot of really important signings with Canadian national team members lately, but Gauld and White have been outstanding. And Ryan Gauld, MLS MVP candidate at this point. Brian White scores again on the weekend. So congrats to the Whitecaps. By the way, I've said it before in this show. I don't know how much Whitecaps players, this isn't a knock, it's just the way I feel about things. I don't know how many players, well, I do know how many, maybe one or two, how many players have really connected with the community.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But Vanny Sartini has, and to let him go would be a big mistake. Okay?
I love Vanny's post-game comments. We did everything. They did nothing. There isn't a more honest, true blue coach in this city than Vanny.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I said John Herdman on Friday. I said John Herdman would be coaching TFC.
He can't coach yet.
Terry Dunfield is the coach on an interim, the guy in charge, as they call it officially, the guy in charge on an interim basis. So it wasn't Herdman on the weekend. That's going to happen later on. Okay, and also, I mean, I know that you gave up on this game in the third quarter.
I turned the channel. I'm not going to lie.
Lions down 19 in the fourth quarter.
I turned.
Biggest fourth quarter comeback in history. And I guess you could say it. You know, this is when you realize something special would happen. The 120-yard return off a missed field goal by Terry Williams.
And I was ripping the return game in the first half, Donnie. They couldn't get any yardage at all. And then this happens, and look at this, Donnie.
Yeah.
Whitehead.
And then Whitehead, 22 yards as the Lions go ahead for good with 16 seconds left. I wrote a column in the Province in the 90s talking about how I hate, and I mean it, I hate people who leave games early. I can't, if you're out there, I don't like
true.
You. Okay. What do you mean?
If you pay your hard-earned money, they're down by 6 minutes to go down by 16 points. You're going to stick around for that, Todd?
Well, yeah, because that might happen. But here's the thing. I'm a hypocrite.
Because
my wife had the karaoke machine going.
Oh.
And I turned the game off to sing a bit, you know.
Do we have audio?
No, trust me, you don't want that. And I missed it. And then my son shows me his phone. Like, Dad, the Lions won. They were down 9. And I thought he was like somehow I don't know what kids are up to these days with the phones. Somehow manipulated the score on his phone. Like, come on, that can't be true.
There's no way. I'm looking at Twitter going, what the hell's going on here? They won.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
Not the way, not the exact way that Rick Campbell would have liked to have seen, because this was the second game in a row at home where they underperformed against a team they should beat. They should, right? And they did win. Okay.
And Hamilton did them a massive favor, Donnie. Earlier in the day, they beat Winnipeg, for crying out loud.
But, boy, and you can say what you want about the Canadian Football League, but that rule, the 3-minute clock, where the clock stops with 3 minutes left, no matter what the situation, it leads to comebacks like it can mean longer games, but when you get something like that happening, that's really, really special. So now the Lions are 2 points out of first place in the West. The Bombers losing Hamilton. Hamilton's playing well. So the Lions are just 2 points out of first place in the CFL West. Maybe they end up hosting the Western Final.
Guess who's in town in a couple of weeks? Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah.
Get 40,000 for that game. That one could have first place implications. You never leave a CFL game. You and I go back to Empire Stadium. We've been watching this league, Donnie, for years, and we should know better. We both turned the TV off. Shame on us, but I'm tired of Vernon Adams throwing interceptions. You agreed with me when we were texting on Saturday.
No, I didn't.
He's got to stop.
Okay.
Donnie, he's got to stop throwing in a double coverage. It is absolutely driving me insane. Why the double coverage interception? Stop it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That the pick six.
That's the what? The double coverage.
He went across his body. He knows.
Okay, but the why?
He knows. They won. 41-37. I have a hard time criticizing Vernon Adams. And I know maybe that's part of my job, but just because of the difficult circumstances he joined his team under. Nathan Rourke was everything last year. He comes in, he went 4-2 as a starter. They get into the playoffs, and he's just been so good to deal with and so classy, and getting everybody down across the border together, all his receivers working in the offseason. So I have a hard time criticizing him. Hey, 2 points, points out of first place.